you're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. We're going to start off today's bulletin with the Karnataka contractor case. There's fresh piece of information that's come in that Karnataka Rural Development and Panchayat Raj Minister Eshwarappa has decided to step down after he was booked for abetment of suicide in connection with the death of a civil contractor. Now, this was also because of mounting pressure by the opposition asking for his resignation. Mr. Eshwarappa told reporters, and I quote, "Tomorrow I'm handing over the resignation letter to the Chief Minister. I thank you all for cooperation," end quote. Now, the contractor Santosh Patil was found dead in a hotel in Udupi early this week. He had accused the minister of harassing him for a commission or to clear payment of about 4 crore rupees for road projects. Now, according to NDTV, Karnataka Chief Minister said, and I quote, "The post-mortem is done. Let the preliminary inquiry begin. Depending on the preliminary, we will decide the next course of action," end quote. Now, yesterday, Mr. Eshwarappa had said that he would not quit. Earlier today, Congress leaders DK Shivakumar, Siddaramaiah and others were detained as police stopped them from marching towards the Chief Minister's residence, protesting, demanding the resignation of Mr. Eshwarappa. Moving on from the story right now, referring to the speech at a dharam sansad that was organized by Hindu Yuva Vahini, the national capital, on the 19th of December 2021. Delhi police has now filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court and has said that no hate was expressed against any community. Now, the affidavit said, and I quote, "Speech was about empowering one religion to prepare itself to face evils which could endanger its existence, which is not even remotely connected to call for genocide of any particular religion," end quote. Now, it also added that there is no use of such words which mean or could be interpreted as open calls for genocide of Muslim in order to ethnic cleansing or open call for murder of an entire community in this speech, end quote. And an update now on what's happening in Gujarat. The police in Gujarat on Wednesday said that the violence during a Ram Navami procession in Khambhat, which left one dead, was a pre-planned conspiracy. Now, in a statement, the police has said, and I quote, "The Hindu community takes up processions and celebrates Ram Navami with an aim to stop these celebrations and to increase the dominance of the Muslim community in the area. The procession was attacked," end quote. Now, it added that the accused wanted to ensure the Ram Navami procession was not taken out in the future and to create an atmosphere of fear. And this is what the police has said. 11 people have been arrested so far. Communal violence was reported not just in Gujarat but several other states as well, like Jharkhand, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, among others. In fact, there's one statement that's coming from Rajasthan Chief Minister on what happened in Madhya Pradesh. Rajasthan Chief Minister has said that even the Prime Minister did not have the right to demolish a person's house without a probe. Now, he was referring to the demolitions that took place by the Madhya Pradesh administration right after communal clashes erupted during a Ram Navami procession in Khargone. Now, Mr. Gehlot has told reporters, and I quote, "Who has given you this right? Even the Chief Minister and Prime Minister don't have this right to demolish somebody's house without any investigation, without finding someone guilty. Imagine what the innocent people are going through," end quote. There's an update on what's happening in Jharkhand as well. The center has now issued an advisory to different states to prepare standard operating procedures and contingency plans for the operation of ropeways. And this comes after 3 lives were lost and several others injured in the Jharkhand ropeway accident. The center has asked the state governments to engage experienced and qualified firms or organizations for carrying out a safety audit of each ropeway project. In the meantime, the Prime Minister has also reacted. He's praised all those who were involved in the Diogar ropeway rescue operation in Jharkhand and said that they must record their experiences and turn it into a manual so that it can be made part of disaster response training. Moving on to Karnataka now, one of the students who approached the Karnataka High Court, Alia Asadi, has now urged Chief Minister of Karnataka, Basavaraj Bommai, to allow Muslim students to write exams while wearing hijabs. She has tweeted, and I quote, "Second PU exams are going to start from 22nd of this month. Honorable Chief Minister, you still have the chance to stop our future from getting ruined. You can make a decision to allow us to write exams wearing hijab. Please consider this. End quote. Now, to give you a bit of a context, the Karnataka High Court, in its order, had upheld the order that was released by the government, which effectively prohibited students from wearing any religious clothing to educational institutions, saying that the hijab is not mandatory in Islam. In Andhra Pradesh, 6 people have died and 13 others were injured after a fire broke out in a pharmaceutical unit on Thursday midnight. Now, a reactor blast due to a gas leak is suspected to have caused the fire. Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy has expressed grief of this incident and announced a 25 lakh rupee compensation for family members of people who passed away. Meanwhile, in Kashmir, unidentified militants shot a civilian in South Kashmir's Kulgam on Wednesday evening. Now, the injured, identified as Satish Kumar, was immediately shifted to a nearby hospital. Now, this attack comes among a series of other targeted attacks on migrant workers and local minorities that have been sweeping Kashmir over the last couple of months now. Meanwhile, reacting to the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's human rights remark, the Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar has said people are entitled to have views about India's policies and New Delhi is equally entitled to have views about them. He said, and I quote, "Whenever there is a discussion, I can tell you that we will not be reticent about speaking out." End quote. Now, Mr. Blinken had earlier said that the US is monitoring what he called a rise in human rights abuses by some government, police, and prison officials. Meanwhile, in Punjab, the Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday has questioned former Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh's Channi in connection with an alleged illegal sand mining case. Now, the case is based on an FIR filed by the Punjab Police on March 7, 2018, alleging that illegal sand mining activities were being carried out in 6 quarries in the Shahid Bhagat Singh Nagar district. Now, Mr. Channi's nephew, Bhupinder Singh Hani, was arrested by the ED in the same case ahead of the Punjab Assembly elections in February this year. Moving on to international news right now, an update on the Brooklyn shooting case. A man wanted in that attack, which left 10 people wounded by gunfire, was arrested on Wednesday afternoon, and this was reported by the Associated Press. Now, 62-year-old Frank James was taken into custody in Manhattan. Now, a gunman had earlier set off a smoke grenade and fired a barrage of at least 33 bullets in a rush hour subway train. Police are currently examining social media videos where the 62-year-old dubbed US as a racist place and railed against New York City's mayor as well. It's day 50 of Ukraine crisis. Now, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council has said that if Sweden and Finland join NATO, then Russia would have to strengthen its land, naval, and air forces in the Baltic Sea. Now, he also raised the nuclear threat by saying that there could be no more talk of a nuclear-free Baltic. Now, Finland, which shares a 1,300-kilometer border with Russia and Sweden, are considering joining NATO, and the reaction from Russia is because of that. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry has said that the flagship vessel of its Black Sea fleet is seriously damaged after a fire caused ammunition on the vessel to explode, but that it is still afloat. Now, on the contrary, Ukraine has claimed that it struck the vessel with its Neptune missiles. In the meantime, the US is sending more artillery, armored vehicles, and helicopters to Ukraine. The situation in one of the worst affected cities in Ukraine, Mariupol, continues to be grim. Russia has said that it has gained full control. On the other hand, Ukraine's defense ministry has claimed that the Ukrainian troops are still holding out. There's a comment that's coming from the WHO chief. Now, WHO Director General has said that the world is not giving enough attention, or equal attention as he calls it, to emergencies affecting black and white people. The ongoing emergencies in Ethiopia, Yemen, Afghanistan, and Syria have garnered only a fraction of the global concern for Ukraine, he said. He further said, and I quote, "I don't know if the world really gives equal attention to black and white lives," end quote. On to sports news right now, an update on what's happening in Champions League. Liverpool versus Benfica and Manchester City versus Atletico Madrid ended in draw due to better aggregate. Both Liverpool and Manchester City, however, advanced to semi-finals of the Champions League. And one more piece of sports news and positive news coming in from India this time. 16-year-old Grandmaster R Pragganandhaa has won the prestigious Reykjavik Open chess tournament with 7.5 points from 9 rounds. Now, R Pragganandhaa came to limelight after he defeated world number 1 Magnus Carlsen in an online tournament. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again on Saturday. Good night.